Hello everyone, I hope you are well. Well, Judgment Day cometh, that's the problem. It's tomorrow. We needn't worry too much though. I'm sure it'll all be absolutely fine. So do say hello, introduce yourself in the comments, and we'll crack on with what we need to do today. I'm going to do a bit of programming today. This is shortly after watching Morocco knock Spain out of the World Cup, which is quite exciting. So let's crack on and see how much we can do with programming before we. Hi Laura, how are you doing? Thanks for coming. We're going to do. We'll have a look back at some past questions. Hi Josh, how's things? Let's start with a little bit of a quiz. Why don't we? With this one. Hi Zainab, how's it going? Thank you for coming. Let me put this up there so you can see it. What do we think? This one. Hayden, how is it going? Oh, blimey. All this build up and the mocks are tomorrow. How exciting. I'm expecting big things. No pressure. Big things. What do we think? Do you remember this one? This is a count controlled loop. What's it going to output? I don't need my headphones actually. What's it going to output? This, we've got a tiger in the house, which is quite a scary thought. Hello, tiger. How you doing? What's this going to output? We know for, hello. We know from 0 to 10. What about from 10 to 0, step 3? What's it going to do? Any idea? What's it going to produce? Do you have any idea at all? The step things, the step one means it'll do it in steps, which is quite a cunning thing you can use. Bavidra, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Outstanding. We're doing a bit of programming today. A few questions just to get us started. My face is the only thing showing. Ooh, is that right? It's not there. Ooh, okay. Oh, I know why. Yeah. No, that's why. That's hang on, I can do something about that. Is that slightly better? Yes, what's the code, sir? Yes, you're all asking good questions. You'd think I taught computer science as you knew what I was doing, wouldn't you? So instead, hopefully that makes sense. Good, thank you. I'm glad you're keeping me honest here. So what about this one? Cool. I got so carried away trying to make the the thunder and the rain sound that I lost everything else. I couldn't get it to work. It was driving me mad. So what about this? For 10 to 0, step 3, step minus 3, what do you reckon it's going to do? It's a jolly clever thing, and I've got a feeling because they've not incorporated this. It won't be in the exam tomorrow. Not I'm giving anything away. Well, I am, because it won't. But what do you think this one's going to do? For I equals 10 to 0, step 3. What do we think that will produce? Do we have any ideas at all? And it's this idea of, where have I got it? It's this idea of, it's going from 10 to 0, and it's stepping, and it's going minus 3. What do we think? Ooh, we've got some answers here. Hang on, let me get rid of this. We have got Hayden who's saying 741. We've got Tiger who's saying 741. Should we put ourselves out of our misery? It is 10741. That is outstanding. Right, so you can see what it's doing. Pleasantly scented. Excellent. Well, that's not a bad thing to be, is it? Welcome. So all we've done so far, just warmed up the crowd for you. Decent, how's things? 741, good man. You two are an awesome person. There's your free ding. So that's how you go backwards. And you say in which steps you want to do it. And then if you put a minus there, it goes backwards. And if you don't, it goes forwards. Easy peasy, innit? So that's the count controlled loop with bells and whistles. Good. Yes, this was my quiz time jingle. I wrote this. It's terrible, isn't it? That's what happened during COVID. I had too much time on my hands. So what about this one? Identify the outputs if the user enters values 6 and 4. What do we think, ladies and gentlemen, is the answer for this one? Here is some dreadful incidental music. Ooh, look at this. Tiger's come back with 6. What do we think? Pleasantly scented also thinks 6. And Mr. Muggeridge thinks 6. Right, so let's have a look. We are absolutely spot on. Josh is in there with 6. So guys, you've got that. And Pavidra, you said 6 too. That is outstanding. I think you should all have a ding for that. Right, good. Identify fourth value computer will output. The scheming weasel. Yeah, I've got all sorts of that corny music. It's it's quite good, isn't it? What about this one? What do we think this one will do? What do we think it'll do? I'm aware of the time at 5 past. Yeah, 35. I kind of want to get on and do some coding. What do we think about this one? What's it going to output? This one here. What else have I got for you? Oh, okay. So, which film is this from?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Hopefully not about the exam. It's not a moon. It's not a moon, you know. What about this one? Do we have any ideas? The fourth value. I think I'm going to push on because I need to do some coding. No answers. It was 2. Okay. Here we are. Let's look at casting, selection, iteration, and procedures. The first bit, casting, is actually really straightforward. So let's jump straight in with that one now. Oh, before we do, I've got some key terms. Just so you are aware, yeah, you were absolutely spot on. I got impatient and just jumped on. So well done, Tiger. You're absolutely spot on. You can have the ding. And here's some incidental music just to keep you going. I hope that works for you. Right. Now, just to make sure, good, that's not still playing, some terms for you. You know what a variable is. I've talked about variables so many times, I'm actually sick of hearing myself talk about it. And constants. Constructs, just so we know, iteration and so on, selection, those are the 2 you've got to worry about. Parameters. Now, parameters, we're going to come across those today. Variables pass to a subroutine. So when you put a value into a subroutine, and don't get worried about what subroutine means. It just means a block of code you can reuse, and it's either going to be a procedure or a function. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. Arguments are the values that are passed to each parameter. So a parameter will probably be some kind of variable, and the argument will be whatever number you put in that variable. Does that make sense? An array is a list. Concatenation, which I'll be very careful how I say, is when you join 2 strings together. Declaration is when you define a data type. Assignment is giving it a value. Initialization is setting it to 0. So that little list there, those sorts of terms can throw you out if you're not aware of them in the exam. But I'm not going to spend too much time worrying about those. Let's jump on and have a look at this. Algorithm practice. Ta-da! Ooh, I could have done that actually. I've got the... There we go. I really should get out more. So here's the question. So this is every single OCR question looks a bit like this one. So let's think about. Ooh, I've got something to show you. This is very exciting. Check out my new screen. I know, sad, isn't it? So can you see how I can even use my pencil. Abstraction, decomposition, and computational thinking. I'm going to apply those 3 ideas to this question. I'm hoping you can still read the question in front of you. So Dreamville is a theatre aimed at, I was going to say children and adults. Tickets are sold online. Adult tickets $19.99, child tickets $8.99. A booking fee of £2.50 is added to each order. A function. They're going to ask you to write one of these. Not tomorrow, but on, is it Wednesday or Thursday? You've got your paper too. It takes the number of adult tickets and the number of child tickets as parameters. There's that word. It calculates, so how many adult tickets, how many child tickets are the parameters going in. Friday, is it, Laura? Okay. Ooh, okay. As parameters, and returns the total price. So a bit of maths, Friday, okay. And that's what happens there. So let's go to here. Abstraction. So abstraction means removing unnecessary detail. So you're not going to have time to do all of this in the exam, but this is the sort of process that you're going through when you get one of these questions. It's worth 6 marks. So you can give yourself 7 minutes and you've got time to just relax, set yourself and think, okay, I need to do the abstraction, get rid of the stuff that I don't need. Dreamville, we don't care about. Online, we don't care about. We've got adults at $19.99, kids at $8.99, booking fee of $2.50. That's added to all of them. Function ticket price takes the tickets as parameters. It calculates the total and returns it. So that's all we need to worry about, okay? Pavitra, it'll be okay. So, where am I? I'm here. So if you break it down, right, with the process of, just an excuse to use my pencil again, this bit of abstraction here, we come down to, this is all the question saying, we've got two products, one at 20 quid, one at £9, and a booking fee that gets applied to each order. And we've got to make a function. The function is called ticket price. And then we've got two brackets. We'll talk about those in a second. Calculate total price, return total function, which brings us neatly to the next thing, which is what differentiates a function from a procedure is that a function returns a value to the main program, which then goes on and gets used later. Otherwise, they're the same. Basically, one's got the word return in it and one doesn't. And one's called a function and one's called a procedure. That's it. That's all you need to worry about. People always get quite stressed about these subroutines, but it's not. Okay, so decomposition, chance to tick on my little box again. Look at that. We're going to now break it down into smaller tasks. So this is what you should do. And obviously with these sort of relatively straightforward tasks, you can do some of this in your head, but you've got 7 minutes, so take your time and just go through it logically. And then we'll think about how we can get marks for it. So the task list means create the function called ticket price. We're going to have the parameters of adult and child. It's going to calculate a total price and then return a total price. Now look, this is going to be worth 5 or 6 marks. And pretty much the 1, 2, 3, 4, those are your marks. One of those will be worth 2 marks. So it's so formulaic that every time they do one of these questions, it is exactly like this. And then you need to think about it in terms of the tasks that you actually have to do. For once, I'm going to click on the right button. There we go. Computational thinking. Oh, I get a chance to tick my computational thinking for a second time. See, I've been practicing. So, turning it into an algorithm. Now, this list here, which I have very cunningly written for you down here, this is pretty much the mark scheme of every single computational problem you're going to have. They might get you to muck around with text and do concatenation and pick the third letter and print it on screen and stuff like that. And that's just taking a string manipulation and mucking about with it. There's about 4 or 5 commands to learn for that, which we haven't done very much of, and we will before the real thing. But for the purpose of tomorrow, getting a function and trying to get as many marks as you can for this function question is what this is about, okay? So thinking about the problem in terms of what are the inputs, what are the variables, what are the boxes you're going to store things in, what processing is going to happen, what are the constructs, iteration, selection, and so on, what are they going to use? Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's both. And then what about the output? And again, can you see we've got 6 items there? Yusuf, how are you, dear boy? Thank you for joining. That reminds me, after this, I will stick the PDF from this onto Satchel 1. I was hoping to do one on Thursday, but it turns out I've got a Year 11 parents' evening for my daughter on Thursday, so sorry, guys. But I'll give you the PDF from this so you can have that, all right? Don't say I don't give you stuff. This one next. Okay, so now we've got the function, right? And this is kind of what the function looks like. And the first thing to point out to you, and this is honestly how the mark scheme actually works. If you write that word function and you down here somewhere write end function, don't forget it's one word like that, that will get you a mark. Yeah, Hayden, let's have a look. Hayden's kind of ahead of the game here. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, that's looking good. Humza, how are you, dear boy? And in fact, Hayden, that's interesting. And notice what Hayden's done there. He's gone for more of a Python approach. If you're going to use Python, use Python. If you're going to use OCR reference language or pseudocode, use that. Don't go mixing and matching it because, yeah, pretty good. Don't go mixing and matching it because you might drop marks. You shouldn't drop marks, but you might drop marks. So listen, guys, that's the first thing, right? We've got a function and we've got an end function, and that is going to be worth a mark or 2 because that means that, you know, that is a... Oh, hello, Luca. How are you, dear boy? How's things? So what's Python? That's a worrying question at this stage of the proceedings. But in fact, to be honest with you, you don't need any Python at this stage. You can just use reference language. So I've put the shell there. I've called it function shell. So that's what you need to focus on. So then we can jump in. We've got function ticket price because that's what this function is called. It's called ticket price function. And can you see, indeed it is a snake, a very scary one. Yes. Rarely got a poisonous bite though. Yes, ticket price. Ticket price is the name of the function. Now parameters, that's the data we're going to feed into this function. So we feed in the data, how many tickets, whatever, and then it'll spit out something at the end and give us it'll give us the cost of things, all right? But that's what we're after. So let's go on to the next one. Yay. Function ticket price, adults, kids. Now, so we're going to feed in the number of adults. We're not going to feed in kids, but we're going to put in the number of adults and the number of kids. That would be that'd be a great concern. So we're going to feed in the number of adults as a parameter, and obviously that's a variable as well. I know I'm throwing these words at you, but a parameter is simply a variable that you're sticking into this function, and the function is a bit of code that will do something and spit out a value at the other end, okay? So we've got adults and kids, because those are the two things we need to know, number of adults and number of kids. And don't forget, doing that bit of work on computational thinking, on what this problem actually consists of, you've got time in the exam to do that. Just as much as you've got time to look at it and go, oh, this proves I can't do computer science, this is so hard, and to sit there feeling sorry for yourself for 5 minutes, which serves absolutely no purpose at all, because nobody needs that.
Quite an experience to live in.
No one did guess what the previous one was from, by the way, which is very disappointing. So number of adults and number of children are going to be our inputs. Let's go back to my previous little thingamabob here. So inputs, we're going to look at these inputs first of all. It's going to be number of adults, number of children. So if you feed those two into your problem, you're probably going to get a mark. They might even give you a mark for each one. Then what happens next? We're going to use those as variables, okay? So now we've got the variables sorted out that are going to go into our program. And number of adults equals adults, number of children equals children. So we're going to sort of write this in a kind of pseudocode-y way to make sure we get in from the user how many adults and how many kids there are. And of course, we know that in terms of the OCR reference language, this is what it looks like. Adults equals input, enter adults. And you know to put it inside brackets and then speech marks, because that will give us a string. So people will type it, on the screen will appear enter adults, people will type in 5, then it'll say enter children, and people will type in 3, and then you've got 5 adults and 3 kids, which you're then going to feed into your block of code and into your function, and that will then calculate the price for us. So you're already going to have 1 mark on the board, or 2 marks for having done function end function, this bit here, and then we're going to feed in our variables, which takes us on to our next bit. The processing, well, that's pretty easy, isn't it? We know that adults is going to be, the cost for the adults is going to be the number of adults times £19.99, because that's how much they cost. Yeah, decent. I need to click on the right thing for that. You are a good man. Hayden, you were, by the way, that was full marks for what you did there. Oh, there he is. Yeah, absolutely spot on, decent. That's exactly it. Adults equals adults times 19.99. Kids equals kids times 8.99. Price, and the total price is going to be the adult plus the child, because don't forget, you're going to use those variables, add those two together, and that will give you the final price. So price equals adults plus kids. Just remember, whatever you call your variables, make sure you use those names later on, or else they might not give you a mark. Now that processing will always get you a mark. So this is easy peasy, isn't it? And you've got time to do this. Don't forget, you've got 1 point something minutes per mark. And if you see something that's a 1 mark and you think, I've got no idea, don't sit there sweating about it. Just move on and go back to it. Maybe put a mark in the margin just to remind you. So this is kind of where we end up. How do you write start of function in pseudocode? All right, that is a good question. Oh, which Luca has answered correctly. And Luca, seeing as you are on fire, hopefully not literally, in a positive sort of way, how, Luca, do you end a function? You do function to start it. What do you do to end it? What pseudocode? Humza hitting all the buttons here. I predict a great future for you in plumbing. So then we've got end function. Luca's absolutely spot on. Look at that. End function. So that is what you can see on the screen there. If I'm hoping you can see it. Is that too small, or can you actually see it? Because I can show you the entire thing here somewhere. But that is what you're after there, okay? So that would get you some pretty decent marks come the exam, all right? And that's all you have to do. Let's push on. What time is it? 50. Algorithm practice. I've got one more here. So this is GT apps. Do you know what? I'll switch to this one so you can see it bigger. GT apps tracks users' average and max heartbeat. Notice how much waffle they put into these things, right? And when you read through it, just think, what are the inputs? What am I going to do with this data? What are the outputs? What are the constructs? So GT app tracks users' average and max heartbeats. Users enter average and max heartbeat that is displayed on their fitness watch. If the average heartbeat is between 0 to 99, a message lazy is displayed. If the average heartbeat is 0, actually the word dead would be displayed, but let's not get into that. A message lazy is displayed. If the average heartbeat is above 90, the message good is displayed. If at any point the max heartbeat is above 176, and if you see that if at any point, that should scream to you what construct that is, because I've tried to squeeze everything into this non-OCR example. If at any point the maximum heartbeat is above 176, the program stops running and displays the message, seek medical advice. If you remember this question for the voters, remember the voters one, A, B, and C? And then if at any time someone types in end, then this will happen. The code will stop running and something else will happen, along with the average and max heartbeat of users. So that's the kind of question there, okay? And if we push on, if we actually can push on, come on. Are you really not going to work? Okay, let's try and do it here then. Oh, I'm on the wrong page, that's why. God, I'm such a twit. There we go. Here we go, remove unnecessary detail. So I have crossed out the unnecessary detail, the GT app tracks users average and all that sort of stuff, and I've pulled out the stuff that you need. So users enter average and max heartbeat. If average heartbeat more than 0 and less than 90, print lazy. Can you see where we're going here with constructs? If average heartbeat greater than 90, print good. Maximum heartbeat bigger than 176, end program. Print seek medical advice. Print average heartbeat. Print maximum heartbeat. So that has got a couple of hallmarks of 2 constructs that we need to think about. If you can think what they are, shout it out in the comments. And let's break it into smaller bits, okay? I know I'm rushing through this because I've only got 8 minutes left. Input the average. Tiger's coming in with a bit of something here. What have we got here, dear boy? Average heartbeat equals input, or dear girl, whoever you are. Average heartbeat equals input, enter average heartbeat. Look at you. Absolutely spot on. So think about, break this down, right? You know, we teach you all this decomposition and abstraction is to make these things easier to do. Get rid of the stuff you don't know, break it down into a series of tasks. What are the inputs? What are the processes? What are the outputs? What constructs are we going to use? Have you ticked all the boxes? You can see the mark scheme, input, process, output, construct, 4 to 6 marks, okay? Input average, input maximum heartbeats. We've got a couple of inputs. Do comparison. Is it bigger? Is it smaller? What are we thinking about for that one? End and print message if max greater than 176. What are we thinking about for that one? Okay, let's do that one here. Are you going to go to the next one? Let's do it here. Okay, turn into algorithm. Inputs, variables, processing, construct, and outputs. Those are the things that we need to consider, which, by the way, is pretty much the mark scheme. So the input, as who was it who said? As it was Tiger who said that, which is pretty much spot on. We're going to input the average heartbeat and the maximum heartbeat. So let's think about how we do that. I'm talking faster and faster to get through this on time. AHB, that's what I've gone for my variable. It'll be a variable. AHB equals input average heartbeat. So can you see it's so repetitive. They're going to take something in from the user, they're going to do something with it, and they're going to spit it out the other side. They might vary it and use a function. They could ask you to do a procedure, and that's what you're going to be looking at in terms of Friday's assessment. Logical comparison of AHB, logical comparison. And what I mean by logical comparison, of course, is that we're going to be using these guys here. And don't forget which is greater than. If it starts big, that's greater than, and if it starts small, that's less than, okay? Which is very badly written, but you get what I'm doing there. So do try and get that the right way around. I've still yet to forgive last year's Year 11 for creating a fairground ride that exclusively murdered children, so try to avoid that. Atif, how you doing, dear boy? For whatever you've missed, I will stick this, I'll put it on Satchel 1 in a few minutes' time. So comparison, and then we've got selection. I'm sure you picked out the selection bit going on there. How many of you figured out the while loop? You know the while loop that while heartbeat less than 176, do. And then obviously if it's greater than 176, it will print a message, call an ambulance and read you your last rites. Although actually at your age, I think you can probably go above 176. If I was above 176, I'd probably be in the back of an ambulance. So if AHB bigger than 0 and less than 90, then print lazy. Else AHB greater than 90, then print good. Notice how sometimes they tend to give marks for actually getting the indentation sorted out. So make sure that when you do this, you get your indentation here and you get your indentation here. Pink arrows, by the way, just saying. Yes, maximum heartbeat. Yes, you're right, aren't you? It is exactly that. Maximum heartbeat is that minus age. Yeah, which was something that I used to enjoy doing. But once you get over the age of 50, you can use the do until, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And of course, as you know, right, and Tiger, you spotted this, you can get away with using any combination of these. And in terms of the sort of whether you use either loop, it's absolutely fine. Which condition controlled loop you want. That's the phrase I was searching for there. So that is that bit there. How long? 4 minutes. This is what I put in, Tiger. So what did you say? You said, can I use the do until loop instead of while? Absolutely. Use whichever one you want to use. And although, you know, we know that one checks the code before running and one checks the code at the end, for the purpose of GCSE, they're not going to deduct mark. They want to know that you recognise, A, the loop. Next slide, please. Okay, all right. There we go. So demanding, honestly. So this is what I came up with. Things to notice. So how can we get lots of marks for this one? Ooh, I can do some ticking. So while loop, so that would get you a mark for using the while loop. Using selection would get you a mark there. Doing the comparison would get you the mark. Very often for doing the comparison gets you a mark. Doing the comparison correctly gets you another mark. Are we up to 4 yet? And then printing something gets you a mark. And then, I don't know, something else might get, how am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. They might have given you, oh, because I've not got the entire thing there, have I? That's why. Duh. Right, let's do that instead. Seek medical advice. Those are the outputs. I'm rushing because I've only got... There you go. I'm so sorry, everyone. This is the final version, right? So that was the condition controlled loop there. So this would be the entire thing. By the way, they're not going to ask you to do all of this. I've simply tried to make a... Have I made a mistake on this, Hayden? I've simply tried to incorporate every single thing they could throw at you into one slide in terms of the construct, you know. So we've got a bit of selection, we've got a count controlled and a condition controlled loop, we've got some input and we've got some output, and we've got some comparisons as well. So bigger than 0, less than 90, then print lazy, else. Yeah, they may choose to be a bit petty about this. That seems to vary from mark scheme to mark scheme. We've got our inputs over here as variables. That's going to get you some marks. We've got our selection here. That'll get you a mark. And then we've got our printing out there. So that's pretty much what they're going to do with all of these. You can't see it. Oh, that's because I'm showing you my head. I'm an idiot. Now you can see it. I'm so sorry. You were saying next slide, please. I'm too clever for my own good because I've got 3 separate screens running here, except only one brain, which is problematic. So how does that work for you? Is this what you would have done? And as we know, right, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Well, there's a wrong way of doing it, which is you make mistakes in it. But this is kind of what we're after here, all right? And that is everything that they could chuck at you in one go on a screen. I have quite neatly got to the end there. So soak it up, and that's what we're looking for. But think about just doing abstraction, decomposition, break it down. How can you put this into an algorithm? What are the inputs? What's the process? What's the outputs? Think about your variables. And then you've got time to think, is this... Because, listen, if it's selection, if it's going to be an if statement, you can find the word if there somewhere. Or when you read through it, you can think, oh, it's if this happens to do that, else do that. So if it's not an if statement, the chances are it's going to be a condition-controlled loop. So you can use a while or an until, okay? So that's what you need to think about there. Ladies and gentlemen, I have kept you long enough. It is 7 o'clock, and as is my way, I will not keep you beyond 7. Good luck tomorrow. I'll put this PDF to you now. It's some quiz questions on there if you're gluttons for punishment. Make sure you have a good look through the stuff on Satchel 1 for what's in tomorrow's exam. Is it difficult? No, I think it's an okay paper. I think it's a medium difficulty paper, but I think that it will give you a very, very good idea of what you do and don't know, which is a stupid thing to say. But so is it difficult? I don't think it's a particularly difficult paper. I've seen worse, so you needn't worry too much. But at the same time, the thing that generally lets people down, or that the two classes that I teach tend to do, is with a 4-mark question, they'll know the answer and write down 2 things. Yeah, 1 6 marker. Do you know what? Even if I can't even remember what the 6 marker is about, but they tend, you know, the way they tend to build up a question and they sort of add things to it and add things to it and add things to it. What I will say, which is a little bit of a giveaway for tomorrow's paper, a tiny bit, is if you see a 1-mark question and you think, oh no, what's that? It's a 1 marker. I should be able to get it right. Don't worry. Sometimes they put, sometimes they put a question in there which actually isn't worth spending time on for the 1 markers. It's soaking up these 2, 3, and 4 markers, right? Sometimes the 1 and 2 markers are the easy ones, but not always. That's all I'm going to say to you. You don't get, this is the paper in which you will get the ethical and legal stuff. Decent. Every man has his price. What can I say to you? You know I'm on a teacher's salary. I could leak it, but I'd probably have to kill you afterwards. I mean, that'd be very expensive. It's probably not worth it. Right, I should put this on Satchel 1 for you guys. You've been amazing today. Thank you for turning out in your droves as usual. And I'm sorry for showing the wrong screen 4 hours on end. I shall try and do better with that next time. So I'm going to start running these things again after Christmas. So I'll do one of these a week until you've got £2.50. Okay, well, I mean, yeah. Probably not. 250,000. Let's think about that. Yeah, maybe 250k, because that would pay off the mortgage, and I'll offer for you to pay me. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. All right, guys. So listen, I'll pop this on Satchel 1 for you now. Thank you so much for coming. I will reboot this in January, and I'll go through every single topic between now and the exams in these half an hour. Well, the sad thing is, Tiger, you might well do a better job, to be perfectly honest with you. The practice paper ones from today's mark scheme. No, not from the ones I gave you. All right, guys, listen, be good. I will see you all tomorrow. Good luck for the exams. I'll see those of you who are doing it in South Hall, because I'll be there. Those of you in North or East or elsewhere, good luck. And I will see you tomorrow. See you guys. Bye, 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 bye.